Shalom. Welcome to What is a Mensch, the first of the Becoming a Mensch workshops on Jewish values. Today you will be learning about what is the most challenging and at the same time most rewarding part of Judaism, and that is putting Jewish ethical values into practice in your daily life. You are in for a real treat, for we have two outstanding Menschen, Cantor Lang and Aaron Feuerstein, as our guides. We'll begin with Cantor Lang, who recently met with two young friends on a lovely summer afternoon.
Hey Shane, look at the bird.
Hey!
Come now, offer to share with your brother. Sei a mensch.
What does that mean?
That's Yiddish. It means be a mensch.
But what's a mensch?
What is a mensch? Let me tell you a story. You didn't know your grandpa Ralph, but you know he was a doctor, a dentist. Long ago, he used to fix the teeth for many underprivileged children.
I see. So he did work for kids on Medicaid?
No, there was no Medicaid in those days. He did it for free.
Wow, that was nice.
Yes, it was. But that's not the end of the story. After he had fixed the children's teeth for many years, the organization that had asked him to help out wanted to honor him, to give him a big dinner in his honor so that people would know what he had done. And he would have his name and picture in the paper for publicity.
Cool.
He said that if they honored him publicly, he would stop fixing the poor children's teeth.
But then they wouldn't do the dinner, and he wouldn't get in the paper.
Yes, you understand, he didn't tell nobody but your grandma. I only heard the story last year from the person on the board. He remembered it for 30 years. Your grandpa, as we would call him in Yiddish, your Zayda, he was a mensch.
But when you're humble like that, don't you get pushed around?
Well, Shane, the first time we find the word for humility, anav, in the Torah, it is with Moses. Moshe anav meyod. Moses was our greatest leader, and he didn't let Pharaoh push him around. No, humility is not being like a slave. It is being grateful to God for your gifts and using them to help other people. Moses showed us the secret. There is strength and humility.
I still don't understand. Why didn't Grandpa Ralph want to be recognized?
Pushing himself forward was not his way. He thought he was just doing what every decent person should do. You know, the Talmud says that a good Jew is modest, compassionate in those acts of kindness. Come on, use your fork like a human being. Sei a mensch.
You just said that being a mensch was all about kindness and stuff. What does using a fork have to do with anything?
Well, let me tell you another story about when I grew up. I lived in a world that has now disappeared. We all spoke Yiddish. I grew up under a slogan, Sei a mensch. My mother pleaded with me, Sei a mensch. She meant, carry a handkerchief to wipe your nose, wash your neck, comb your hair, dress properly. She tried to make a civilized human being from a kid who really couldn't care less. She tried to instill in me a self-respect. Not a pride, mind you, but an awareness of the dignity of human beings. After all, a person is not an animal. Sei a mensch. My father shouted in despair, "Sei a mensch." He meant, do your work, be kind to your brothers and sisters, respect your elders. He tried to make a thoughtful, caring individual out of a kid who had more interest in toys, sports, and having fun with friends. Work and dependability were more important to him. Greediness and selfishness were considered sinful, even an offense against God. After all, a person is not an animal. Sei a mensch.
The Jewish moral compass is based on the prophet Micah's famous summary of Jewish values. It has been told you what is good and what the Lord requires of you, only to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. The three values of justice, kindness, and humility express the balanced Jewish philosophy of relationships that we talked about in the first part of this workshop. Kindness is the chief value that says what our attitude toward others should be. Humility is the chief value concerning our attitude toward ourselves. And justice is our chief guide in balancing our interests with the interests of others when they come into conflict with one another. Under these three main values, I have put other Jewish values from Torah and Talmud that concern primarily yourself, others, and the balance. For example, derech eretz, good manners, and kvod habriot, respect for all, are values concerning our attitude toward others. Now, on the dark side of the compass, I have put the sins that concern mainly self, others, and the balance again. These are mainly taken from the Ten Commandments and from the confession at Yom Kippur. For example, under sins concerning others, we have lashon hara, defaming others, or to use the current slang, bad-mouthing. And that sin is directly contrary to respect for others on the values side. And halbanat panim, shaming others, is just the opposite of good manners.
It sounds hard to be a mensch.
But when you do menschlich things when you're young, like you, it becomes a habit. Sometimes it is true, a situation is difficult, and it is hard. We all can do it, though. You don't have to be perfect to be a mensch. You can make mistakes and have failings. We all do. Just need to be a responsible, caring person.
It seems like when you're a mensch, you're always giving and not getting good stuff, like chocolate cake.
No, Shane, you don't have to give up everything, like a Mother Teresa. Remember, I told your brother to share the cake with you, not to give it all to you. Justice, fairness, that is the way we resolve conflicts and live in peace with other people.
It still seems to me like you have to be a goody-goody. Miriam, she's this girl in a lot of my classes. She's always doing favors for the teachers and kissing up to her. It's sickening.
No. If you are a mensch, you don't specially favor powerful people. You do respect your teachers, but if they ask you to do something wrong, you stand up to them. And don't do it. Our Jewish tradition tells us doing the right thing comes first.
Yeah? Well, once Miriam was teasing my friend Josh, and he said something back, and the teacher yelled at him. And it wasn't fair, so I told her so. And now she punished both me and Josh. I don't know. It looks like when you do this mensch stuff, you lose out, like Shane said.
Let's look at it. How did your friend Josh feel?
He really appreciated it. We've been better friends ever since.
You see, when you act as a mensch, people respect you. And you feel good about yourself also. Your grandpa was a very modest man, but people really respected and admired him even though they didn't know all that he did. And do you think he felt he lost out by fixing the poor children's teeth for free?
I guess it did make him feel happy, even though nobody else knew about it.
Yes, when you act as a mensch, it changes your relationship in the way you feel about yourself. It doesn't make life easy, of course. Nothing can do that. Let me tell you something. I am a Holocaust survivor. I was in concentration camps for many years. I was able to see how people treated each other and what happened. Even there, in the worst of times, some people treated